Hey there. So this is pretty much me in the morning. I've decided that for I'm gonna do makeup, and I was like, should I like get dressed like into like leggings or something to do this with all the makeup? I'm like, or should I just show people like what I'm actually like in the morning? I mean, this is like, 3 cups of tea later, I will be honest. That's how long it takes me to kind of like wake up. Yeah, I've had my muesli, I've had my tea. Like, this is the point where I used to put my makeup on, and this with like, is it a fringe? Is it not a fringe? This is what I'm kind of like in the morning. And I was like, you know what, why don't you just be real and be honest? Because I have to be relaxed to put my makeup on. And I don't usually put leggings on and a t-shirt and tie my hair back and like to put it all on. I usually just like do this. I usually just like slick it back and then like look in the mirror and be like, have I got all these little bits of hair? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Never ever do I get all the little bits of hair from my like big wavy hair. So I thought, you know what, just be real, be honest. So I always wear pretty much like quite neutral makeup, like all the time, because I don't want to be putting like stage makeup on all of the time. Like, stage makeup looks ace, like dramatic effect and all that. And you can have like different styles and things like that. So I wanted to kind of like show you that, because I don't think I've done it yet. And I've done it plenty of times before in the past. So I'm like, okay, let's do this thing that we haven't done in like probably a year. I'm like, let's do it now in your house coat. So I don't have a massive makeup collection. Like, I have like 3 foundations. This one is Fair Porcelain. This one is Ivory. Oh, not actually porcelain. This one is apparently porcelain, but it's like very tan for porcelain. You can get porcelain in like literally loads of different shades depending on the manufacturer. These are the palettes that I use. I mainly use Revolution. And what else have I got? And this one. This is called BH Cosmetics. And this one's like a double layer one, which I absolutely love. I haven't used in ages. And these are the sponges that I use to put it on. And the reason why I'm doing this video is so that you can see how you can put makeup on. Like, to me personally, like, makeup is genderless. Like, the guys that read the news, I'm pretty sure they have makeup put on them. Pretty sure the guys that do theatre put on makeup. And I just kind of wanted to show you how you can experiment with it. And so some people always put their foundation on first and then their eyeshadow, because like they are skilled as beep. And that is not me. I always put my eyeshadow on first, always. So I've moisturised today with Eucerin Intensive Lotion, and you can still kind of feel it slightly, and like that's fine. You should kind of be able to feel that the skin's nice and smooth. It shouldn't be greasy or anything, it should just be soft. And then today what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go for something like quite bright. I've decided I'm either going to do purple and pinks, or I'm going to do blacks and greys. And right now I still haven't decided. So this is what I'm going to start off with. You can see what my favourites are, can't you? And I start off with something white. In case you can't see, literally just very lightly dab. You don't want to overload the brush, because if you overload the brush, it's going to go all over your face. It usually goes all over my face in some way. And you just want to apply that, as I do. I mainly do the upper eye area first. some of it I pat, and then some of it I'll brush stroke to minimise like how much falls, which is why I only really dab it. You don't want to overload the brush. And then off I go again. Sometimes I turn the brush to kind of really get into the corners. And that is nowhere near finished. So again, on the other eye. So you can see on this one I've kind of like put a little bit too much on. So if you can sense it's going to fall, try and preempt it and then go towards this part of the eye, because this is where you're going to want quite a lot of contrast at points between, well, I do, foundation and eyeshadow. Sometimes if I'm going to do dramatic makeup, like, there's no grey area for me. It's like I've either done neutral makeup or I've done like stage makeup, and like there's no in between. There we go. So for me that's what like my base is like. It's just white or it's neutral, but today it's white. I don't put white all the way across because that's where the other colours are going to be going. Like, I'm edging towards purple, truth be told. So look what we've got in here. Wow, all the whites just disappeared. Like this. And I'll show you these ones underneath. This is why I kept this palette, and probably why I used to do so many bright colours at points, because it really has got the variety to it. So I'm like, what have we got in here? I'm like, no, I'm going to be going back to one of these palettes, because what I want next is kind of like a bit of shimmer. So these ones here are my shimmer ones, and again you can see which one's my favourites. So they all kind of look very similar. To give you an idea, this one's actually quite peachy, that one's more yellow. Those are a little bit too dark for me, and that one's like more white peach than this one. So you only like find this out through experimenting. So again, don't overload the brush. And then I just apply this in the same place that I applied the white. And you're like, why aren't you just applying that on your face? Why don't you just apply the shimmer? And I'm like, well, that's a really good question. And the answer is because if I just applied shimmer like I did years ago, what you end up with is like, kind of like drag makeup, which has totally got a place, but that is not what I'm going for. It's like theatre makeup plus. That's the best way I can put it, and that's not where I want to go with my makeup. So when you're doing the shimmer, you want to go all over where you've just done with white, but then you want to start to focus more on this part of the eye. Because this is going to get blended. There we go. I don't know if you can tell, with the shimmer starting to like go further than the white did on the eyelid. And that's because you kind of want the shimmer to kind of like fade into the other colours. And then you basically just do the other eye, the exact same. And you're like, yeah, this seems cool so far. The time it starts to get like, ooh, is when you start to add colours, because what happens is that you have to get them equal on both sides. Or as equal as you can. And there's also the fact that like obviously like most people's faces aren't symmetrical, so how your eyelids like fold and form into your eye aren't the same. I know mine aren't, I can see that they're not. Like I have more opening on my left than I do on my right, which can then like kind of like change how you would need to apply it. Yeah. And then all over. Something that I had years ago, which for some reason I threw away, and I don't know why, is a makeup bib. And they can be really, really handy if you are quite messy with your makeup at points. Like, you quite often overload the brush because you're still new to doing it, like I was, and you're not quite confident, so you kind of like drop things. It's called a makeup bib. And it like velcros behind your neck. And it's like about this wide and it goes all the way down. It basically catches all the powder so it doesn't go all over you. I'd highly recommend one. If you're the kind of person that is not like me, that you put your clothes on when you put your makeup on. For me, I'm like, I just stay in my pyjamas while I put my makeup on because it's how I'm comfy. And for me personally, I get better results to do with my makeup when I'm relaxed. Some people might be wanting to put their makeup on like to go out to work, and in which case they might want to be in their like work clothes but not want to get makeup all over their work clothes. There we go. So that's the shimmer part done. Now my instinct is like, yeah, I'm just gonna pick some like really nice light browns. And I'm like, no, that's not what you're doing today. So I put this one down, and then I find my favourite brushes and I get them out in advance. And I'll tell you what they are in a minute. I probably should have showed you that brush at the beginning. This is my favourite brush. It's like really old, can you tell? And I've never found one quite as good. And I just find whatever shape that is really easy to put like my base layer on. And then from there I use a selection of brushes that range from like quite small and focused to wider to rounded to ones that are less dense, which are these ones. These ones are great for kind of like blending outwards. So which one are we going to start with? Probably this one. Now I have such a big choice here, I'm like I haven't used these ones in ages, so I'm kind of like excited and a little bit nervous that I'm going to be like, achoo! Just like draw a big pink line like in my eye. So I'm like pink, 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 pink. Sometimes my eyes go towards like the brightest I can go for, and I'm like, no. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a pink one here. And I kind of want to be doing like pink and purple today. Maybe just pink, I don't know, I'm going to see how I go with that. But quite often they'll try and like pick colours that go well together. From what I gather, like in all the ones that I've bought, they do tend to like kind of put them on the palette in a way that's easy to use. Kind of like this one as well. Like the way all of the like kind of like midnight, gothic, dramatic ones are like this end. And you've got mid-range, brighter, and then you've got more goldy metallics, silver metallics here. So my instinct is like, yeah, loads of pinks. But really, I think I'm gonna go with this one. I don't know what my sponge was trying to do that. So I'm just gonna get a very small amount. Thankfully it's quite bright, but you can see how small the amount is. And I'm gonna start by just, see, this is like a crease. And then you raise your eyes and you do this. You kind of like have to close your eyes and up your eyebrows is what you have to do to put this on. I think sometimes that's not what people explain. They're just like, yeah, so you put it into the crease like this? No, you like kind of have to go, tilt your head back, look at the mirror, raise your eyebrows, basically do a double Dwayne Johnson, and then remember where that crease is, and then just start to apply it. You work from the outside inwards. And the best bit of advice I could give you for this part is to not rush, okay? When you're working your way inwards, you need more, just literally dab. Don't stroke, just dab both sides. You want to work inwards so that the majority of the pigment is on the outside, and then just work inwards. Eventually what you'll find is you start to get a bit more of a rhythm, and then you're able to kind of like do back and forth motions, kind of like you're colouring in, is the only way I can describe it. And at first you're going to be like, there's just a big pink line on my eye. That looks awful. It's not going to stay like that, okay? Sometimes as well, I kind of try and imagine that I'm painting rainbows, because it gives you like the idea of the arch. And as it gets further towards this part of your eye, you kind of want it naturally to start fading away. You might have to close your eye and use your other eye. I always like to blunt it at the end, like give it a bit of shape. You'll notice as well that like it tends to be thicker at this side, and then as it goes in you start to naturally make it thinner. And you'd be like, no, that's not enough. And this is where your instinct comes in. Naturally, you just start to build it up. You're like, actually, I could do it a little bit more, just like on the outside. Or, do you know what? This part needs to be just a little bit more rounded, which is why I said, if you imagine your eyelid, it's kind of like a rainbow. Because you can always work out from there, and you can decide like, see, that just looks like, you know, where's the rest of it? I want some more up here. Don't know if you can see that, just there. You might notice that I keep doing this part here, and this is to like give me a reference point of like where my makeup is going to finish. Okay, so I'm happy with that part, okay? Now for the other eye. And this is what it's like. It can take quite a while to do makeup. You're like, oh my god, is that it? I'm just like, yeah, that's it. So I'm getting quite hot. Take this off. So you can see my milk and cookies. My dress. But this is what I'm like. Where's my, there we go. This is what I'm like in the morning. And I don't see the point in, like, pretending otherwise. Because it'd just be a lie. I'm not gonna pretend that I like wear leggings to put makeup on, because I don't. Now you're probably noticing that all of a sudden, like, this is just going on a lot quicker. That's because the last one was me explaining to you, like, how it works. And so that you can do it on both eyes. But like now, I'm just doing it the way that I would usually do it. You're like, she's putting the pigment like closer into her eye. I'm like, yeah, because I'm used to kind of maneuvering it around more so than if it was a first time. That eye was like how to do it like in a way that should not fail safe, like foolproof way, but an easy way to follow. This way, on this eye, like my version of like how I put makeup on, and really that's the contrast of this video, is that like you can have a explanation as to how to put it on, and then you can have like your own way that you do it. You'll find that you figure out your own technique. One thing I will say is that getting them even can be incredibly difficult if you're highly critical. And sometimes that's the part that's most difficult, is going, they're mostly the same. The reality is actually most people aren't going to be able to see the differences that you yourself can see. I mean, obviously, you know, if your pink's like up here on one and like down there on the other, yeah, people are going to be able to see that. But most of the time, because you'll be moving your face, any slight differences won't usually be that noticeable. And in all honesty, like, it's supposed to be fun makeup. Like, unless you're a makeup artist, in which case you won't be watching this video, or more than likely won't be. You know, it's self-experimentation, and if you're not trained professionally, like, don't expect it to be perfect. And even if you are like going to see a professional to have your makeup put on, then like everyone's human. No one's perfect. What you might find as well is, what I've done now, is that I'm like, this eye, that I just kind of want to change. And this is where you start to realise that you're blending, because you don't want it to be like someone drew on my face with felt tip pen, unless like there's actually the look that you're going for, which mine is not that. So you do want it to kind of like fade away slightly towards these parts. And that's where these brushes come in. They're just like, they're not as dense, they're a lot softer and less precise. And what I just do with them is you start to just brush outwards. So you'll be brushing the original shimmer and white kind of like just over it a bit. I'm going to start off with this one so you can kind of see the comparison. And you just kind of like go over that rainbow. You're kind of like half on the rainbow, half off the rainbow. Aim for mainly off the pink, if that makes sense, so that you don't smudge it too much the other way, because then you'll have to reapply, and it's easier to work it inwards towards the pink than it is to be like, oops, I need to apply more pink, and then you're like, now I've applied too much pink, and you kind of get stuck in like a fix it, blend it mode. So I'm just going to keep doing this one a little bit more. This is also why I put the eyeshadow on first, because as you can see I'm kind of working outside of the eye area, and when you start doing that you're not going to be wanting to put that onto your foundation, are you? This is just the way I apply it. Okay, so that's my left eye. That's my right eye. I don't know if you can see the difference. I can. This one is like more blended, whereas this one is like, well, we've just gone back in time to when we used to do block colours on our eyes. I'm like, which side did I use? I'm like, okay, because you don't want to like turn it the wrong way around, the brush, and then start to put the pink on the upper part of there. So always remember which part the pink was touching, because otherwise you're going to get transfer. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same on this eye. And you just want to be thinking arch, or I always think rainbow because pretty colours. So you probably just noticed that like I was like bleh, with what I was saying. Yeah. The camera decided to stop recording. Thankfully I was like checking how long I'd been doing it for, and it was 29 minutes. And I'm like, good job I checked. Anyway, where was I? I think I was blending, wasn't I? So I was saying you don't want to like forget which side is which. And I'm like, I've forgotten which side is which. Can we say? That is like slowly blending together. It depends how much you want it to blend, really. Like whether you want really dramatic with like a little bit of blend, or whether you want it to be like super blended. It depends. It varies person on person. And this is also the time where you can start to blend these parts. So I'm like, I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Looks pretty cool. And then from here, you get to choose other colours. So this is where I use something that's flatter and more precise so I can do the outer edges of my eyes. I always do the outer edges first and then pick another colour from there, because I quite often know what I want on the edges first before any other colour, and that way I know what the darkest colour is going to be, because I'm going to choose like, I'm going to go with like more pink. Are we going to go with purple, or what am I going to go with? I didn't plan this part. There's just so much choice. I mean, look at that. Look at all these choices. I have to pick. And then I'm like, pink, 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 pink. I'm like, but I'm gonna have pink lipstick on. I'm like, I'm gonna go with purple. It's just not super duper dark. So my instinct was, I'll show you this. My instinct was to go with this one, which is the darkest one I can see. Like, well, my eyes were like, I want that one. Really, my instinct is going for that one. My eyes are like, yeah. But really, it's better to go one shade lighter than what you think, because you can always go darker if it's not quite right, but it's difficult to go lighter once you've gone dark. Okay? Don't overload the brush. Okay? Now, you want to work exactly on the crease, except this time you're going to be working with a very like thin and precise brush. Again, just dab in. This is probably about maybe an inch that I'm working with on my eye. Just, for me personally, I like to find the first line and I can work from there. There we go. I don't even know if you can see that. It's like the smallest little bit of purple. And then I'm just gonna start working that out along the actual crease of my eye. Kind of to where the pink is. And then, yeah, you got it. Rainbow. Now the way I do my makeup is not going to be to everyone's cup of tea, clearly. It's very, very bright. It's kind of like if someone got sherbet and like sprinkled it on your face. Is kind of like the way I do my makeup sometimes. So like now I've got that line. If I like open my eyes like that, you can just kind of like nicely see it. Then again, that little line at the end, I'm like checking it's still like recording me because it like decided to turn itself off before. And this is when I start to have to be very particular. Don't do too much purple, because all of a sudden you're just like, whee! I've got like my eyeshadow like all the way up to my hairline. That is not what you want. You can probably see it coming together a little bit now as well. Needs to get comfy. And there we go. So now I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to see little bits of purple contrasting against the pink. But I kind of want like a little bit more purple into the pink. So again, you dab. And just remember, you're going to be blending it. So don't be worrying that, you know, it looks like stripes on your eyes. What's important is which purple you chose as well, like don't forget that part. There we go, that's coming together quite nicely. Now that does look quite stripy, doesn't it? It's just like, it's really, really stripy. It's really, really stripy. Why is that so stripy? Blend. So again, you want to start off where it's lightest and just sort of flatten maybe. Yeah. I'm going to swap over to something that's similar, but it's like, it's flatter is the best way I can put it, so it's easier to kind of like work into the crease. And again, you kind of want to be like half on the purple, half on the pink. And then if you can get a kind of rhythm going, now, again, I'm just like, I need more purple. And this is when you start to kind of use your instinct. Because it started to blend now, so you can be like, actually, I need just a little top up here and a little top up there. And it all starts to come together. So you're like, she's bringing that feather into her eye, and I'm like, I am, yeah. And you start to swap between the brushes, depending on like which one you need more of. One thing I'd recommend is just like kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just trying to be like natural, and then like moving your eyes, kind of like to kind of get a vibe for what you need and where. There we go. Now I could just keep doing that eye with the rest of it, and I have done that in the past and then done the other one. And the one thing I'd say is that you won't, well, I don't want to say what you will and won't do actually. What I've found is that it's more difficult to get the balance right between the eyes, because you've already done one, and then if you go on to the next part and the next part, you're like, you don't have the comparison. So as much fun as it is going through all the different colours, always do one part, then the next eye, one part, then the next eye. You might actually find as well that you're able to blend a little bit with the very thin brush once you get used to it. but from my experience, if it's your first time doing it, that just creating a line or an arch and then blending is easier if you haven't done it. It's kind of like a building experience. Like you're basically building the colours, fading them, and then kind of at points shaping them with the brushes. I'm not going to pretend that like this is perfect, because there's always someone who I'll look at and be like, wow, they're amazing. Like, they're doing their makeup like 10 million times better than mine, and that's okay. Because we all come at this at different points, different experience levels. We all also have like different talents and capabilities and things that we'll be actually really good at, and some things that we need to work on. And that's something that I've learned over time, is not to be too critical. There's a certain level of self-critique required for most things in life, but there's a difference between having self-critique and kicking yourself. And it's okay to look at other people and be like, do you know what, they do their X, Y, and Z better than me. It's fine to think that. It's fine to admire them. Just don't start kicking yourself because, you know, you don't do it the same, because that doesn't help anyone at all, ever. I don't know if you can tell, but like I've kind of like done most of the blendy part with this brush, because I'm used to doing it this way. I'm not used to using the other one, but sometimes it's easier if you're new to it to do it that way. So I'm going to redo some of this eye. Now I'm going to blend. Sometimes I feel it's like if I put candy on my eyes. That's how I like do my makeup sometimes. Like, I really don't care that I'm 33. I'm turning 34 in November, and I'm like, I'm having pink and purple in my eyes because I want to. It's like, you're not going to get today back, are you? So if you want to put like bright colours on your eyes and you want to experiment, you just do it, okay? It's not hurting anyone, is it? There we go. Another tip, it's all good and well having the mirror like this close and being like, did I get it right? But another tip I would have is to kind of put the mirror away from you, because your face will relax and you'll relax, and you'll just be like, do you know what I could do with more pink? I said that before, didn't I? I was like, pink. And what starts to happen is you start to build it upwards. You can't take it away from the upwards area. It's quite difficult, especially if you dip the brush back in, which I didn't. That's part of the trick, is don't dip the brush again. Work with the residual matter. Eyeshadow, I should say, matter. Been reading way too many science things to do with like space and wormholes and stuff. Yeah. My nickname from my other half is Dorcas, and I think it just proved why. So now there's even less of an obvious line for the pink. Don't know if you can tell. And that's when you start to really have to hone in on like, well, how much pink do I want? And you might start to dab and you're just like, better not put too much on. And then, you know, if you're like, oh, put too much on. Blend. Don't try and fix it with the precision one. Go for blending. And there we go. And move your face around as well because it's got the shimmer at the back. One angle it might look like there's more pink on one side than the other, but as you move your face around, what you'll find is that actually it looks more even than you give it credit for. So next, back to purple, and I think I'm gonna go quite dark. So do you remember the first one? There. This one here. Gonna go for that. Just a dab, and sometimes I wipe it off as well, kind of like it's paint. And you want to just work this just into the very outer edges. Remember what I said about it's easier to build it up than it is to take away? Well, this isn't like we can build on top of it. This is pretty much getting towards like final stages. So you just want to be very careful with how much you put on and where. This is a flat, kind of quite, not massively thin brush, but it's really good to do the outer parts because it's just like the perfect size for the eyelid. And this is when you start to think about just blending a little bit. And the trick is to not apply too much pressure. Points you might want to close your eye. It's easier. There we go. Like, should I have got closer? Maybe. I'm like, maybe I can crop this. I don't know. Now again, you want to be applying it just to the outer edges. You don't want to overload the brush. And this is why when I do quite bright, dramatic colours, that I only apply very, very small amounts. It's also why I don't apply foundation because you do get a little bit of dropper points. And then again, another handy tip I've just thought of now. I'm holding my brush like this when I'm like trying to do really precise stuff, but when you want to be more gentle, you want to hold it further away from where you're applying it. Naturally, you just start to apply it more gently. And sometimes I use my pupils as a way of figuring out where I'm at for how much I need to apply and where the fade line is and things like that. There we go. Now you can leave it like that, or if you're like me, you can add a little bit more, go a little bit darker at the edges. And in which case, I'm going to choose this brush. Very small, tiny, and I'm going to go with something black or just really dark metallic. I'll show you. Something like this, which that's not quite black. It probably looks it. But it's more like a very dark gunmetal grey. Again, you just want to dab so lightly, and then you just kind of want to just put it on the outer part, just there. Now, a lot of people will add things like eyeshadow, not eyeshadow, eyeliner, things like this. I've never really been one for eyeliner, ever. I suppose if you were going for like uber glam, like maybe with some fake eyelashes, like eyeliner would look amazing, but I don't really do eyeliner or fake eyelashes. It's not really for me. I think I have the type of face that, you know, I've got freckles, I've got like, I don't know, I've been told I've got quite a cute face. Even though I'm turning 34 in November. Apparently you can still be cute. Yeah. So I don't tend to wear things like that. And you can kind of just work it in very, very gently, I must add. And slowly. Okay, I'm just going to try this one, which is even darker again, just to kind of do the outer edges and it's ever so slight pointing the tips, like where it finishes. Not quite a cat eye, and this is probably why I don't do eyeliner. It's because this is like my version. There we go. Now, don't get too much eyeshadow all over the table. Wet wipes, 2 hands. Maybe. Actually, I might see if I can brush it off. Can I brush it off? Yeah, I can. Sometimes you can brush it off, sometimes you might need a wet wipe. It depends how much you've got on your face. Truth be told. I'll save that for powder. I use powder. Pop that out there. I've got my brushes on there. Now, what are we going to do next? It's like, am I happy with that? Yeah, I'm happy with, like, you know, my sherbet coloured eyeshadow. So next, what I would be doing is my foundation. And Fair Porcelain for me is just, it's too light and a little bit too freckly. Ivory is sometimes a little bit too dark. And this is way too dark, but I like the appearance of it. As in, like, I like the way that it covers. So what I'm gonna do is, I think today I'm gonna go with, like, it's been really sunny out. I've been outside a bit more than usual. It's coming into summer. It's like Fair Porcelain's probably a little bit too light. And I also should also say that these have had water applied to them and squeezed out so that I can apply my makeup. I'm gonna go with 1.5, 2 actually, of Ivory. and a very small amount in the middle of the other one, and I just go like this. I'm like, that is not enough. Again, then I'm like, one of these, and an even smaller amount of the lighter one. Again. You're like, how do you know which one to do? And I'm like, practice. Purely and simple, practice. Move all those over easily. And then, where do I start? I always start my cheeks, always. And I just dab this on. Just like this. And the reason why you apply water to the sponge first is so that it doesn't just take in all of the foundation. And yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna need some more foundation. That's when it comes down to instinct and practice with how much foundation you need and the mix that you've just made. You're like, well, you could just make loads up at the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, I could, and it could drip all over my hand and onto the table into my makeup. Because that's the kind of person I am. You just want to dab it all over. You want to get it close to your eyeshadow, just not too close right now. Okay, need more. So I'm gonna go one. There we go. And do my forehead next. Down middle of my nose. Carefully around my eyebrows and my hairline. You're probably noticing like I've got like clumps of it. Right now that doesn't matter too much to me. Because different shape. With no makeup on it. Remember I said about blending? But now it has got makeup on it. This is me working it just underneath my eyes a little bit. I don't really apply any concealer, as you probably guessed. I've tried in the past and it just, I don't know if I don't need it or I just can't apply it. But I don't apply concealer. It cut me off again. I was literally telling you that you just kind of want to like be careful around your eyebrows and things like that, because you obviously don't want too much makeup on your eyebrows. And then I basically finished and I was like, oh no. Yeah. So I was onto eyebrows and I was basically saying that you want to use something that's contoured and you want to just work from the outside inwards and then tilt your eyebrows up, and it might be beneficial if you practice your eyebrows before you practice anything else at all. Okay? Because you can take your eyebrows off to like really easily. Whereas, you know, once you've done your makeup like this and you do your eyebrows, if you mess up your eyebrows, it's gonna be kind of like difficult to get back, so to speak. So you want to be confident when you do this. And I use eyeshadow just because I find the shades of eyebrow Powder's not to my liking. There we go. If you can hear a little humming noise, that is my laptop deciding not to go to sleep right now. So that's eyebrows. Then what I would naturally do is mascara. And then you just kind of, what I do is I get this and I basically put it underneath my eye, and then I close my eyelid ever so slightly, very carefully, and kind of work it with brush. I don't apply too much pressure because I don't want to get like clumpy chunks, and let's say like you blink or you poke yourself in the eye, it'll transfer onto your makeup that you've just applied to your face. So just aim for not a lot of pressure, gentle. If your eyes are like mine, there's always like one lot of like eyelashes that seem to like stick out more than the others, and you're like, oh, I really like that eye. I really like my right eye at the moment. My left eye's just not good enough. So what is next? So I'm gonna put these away. Don't want to. It's like playing with paint. Here with my butterfingers. There we go. Now, like blusher. Am I gonna do blusher today? Like maybe a little bit. So again, I always choose Revolution for some reason for the most of my makeup, eyeshadows and blusher. And for me, I've got like quite pale skin. Sometimes I do like a red, like gingery dye to my hair. So I find that these ones, these colours, tend to work quite well for me. Again, don't want to dab too much, and I quite often mix between the shades to get the right shade for me. And then you just want to, I just dab very gently on the apples, and you're like, well, the apples are like my fake smile, just there. And then you can just kind of like work it upwards and outwards. One thing I've learned, if you've got a face shaped like mine, which is kind of like, I think it's heart shaped. I think it was more pointy pre-pandemic. The bottom. Got up like a dress size, like during the pandemic. I'm pretty sure everyone has. And I didn't always have as much fat up here, so it was smaller. So I kind of learnt that I had to put just like a very small amount on, because otherwise it just looked way over the top, and it was like someone had just decided to cover me in blusher, and it looked a bit silly, if I'm honest with you. There we go. I think this looks quite cute. And I've seen people that sometimes do this as well, just to add a little bit of colour, like sun-kissed. My advice is, if you're going to do that, do it in between your blusher strokes so that it's not over the top, unless you know you're like an absolute pro and you get it right first time. Kind of adds like a I've been out in the sun kind of look. And it's kind of like maybe just like caught my nose a little bit, maybe it caught my chin just a little bit, maybe it caught my forehead a little bit. You're like, why is she doing that? It's kind of like adding natural colouring to your makeup. Now, one thing I would always do after all of this is get a big brush, there's nothing on it, and just sweep it away. There we go. Now, you've also got shimmers. I just guess. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just guessed the shimmer. I've learned that that yellowy one is too much for me, and also don't go overboard on shimmer. What's wrong with this one? This one's like my favourite one, which is why it's like been used so much. Tip of the nose, again, don't go overboard. There we go. And then finally, why do I keep closing my mirror? Lips. So, usually I would go for like lipstick, but today I'm gonna try and tone it down a little bit because I don't really fancy like loads of lipstick. I just fancy like a little bit of lip gloss, but I always make sure I create a very gentle line. Again, things that require lines and precision, like eyebrows, mascara, like the final touches, you might want to practice them before you practice anything else and get them right, because you don't want to be getting everything else right and then like kind of messing up at the end. It's better to do these parts, get them right, and then you can apply them at the end. That's what I'd recommend personally. Another tip is find a point. Mine's under my chin for this. You probably see me like balancing my hand like on my cheek for my eyes. Find balance points where you can kind of like pop your finger and then like apply it, because I never just apply it like this. I always find a point and go. Another trick, when you breathe in, don't let that touch your face. As you're breathing out, apply it then. Okay? You'll find that it's just, you'll apply it better to begin with. And there we go. And I'm probably going to apply a small amount of lipstick, just nothing bright. I was like, I'm going to go for lip gloss. I'm like, so no. I don't tend to like do that all that much. I tend to just pat it on because I don't want loads on there. You can go all over your teeth and then just like fighting against your teeth. I'm like, do I want this one? Yeah, actually I've got like loads of bright stuff on my face. I don't want like bright stuff on my lips too. And just very small amount, just to add a little bit of shine. Like, got shy about my eyelids. Don't need it on my lips. And then this is basically me finishing my makeup. And that's me done. You can apply like finishing spray and things like that. As someone who's quite pale, sometimes I find that while they're nice, sometimes I dry my skin out too much because I'm prone to eczema, and then sometimes I make it too shiny, and most of the time I just don't apply any because I don't want my face to look like a sparkly moon. So it's just my personal preference, but you can, if you want, apply a little bit of setting powder if you want to, or setting spray as well, whichever you fancy. And that is basically how I do my makeup if I want to look like I've applied sherbet to my face. So yeah, not what I usually do, but I'm just like really feeling this today. Hope you've enjoyed it, and sorry about the cuts. That was not my choice. That was just the camera deciding it wanted to be in, like, I don't know, maybe saver mode or economy mode. I'm gonna have to have a look at my settings. I've never done that before. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.